Well, folks, the Trump administration has a pretty big blunder on their hands right now. Allegedly private text messages about some potential plans with the Houthis were leaked when the senior editor at The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, was added to a text chain or a signal chain on the encrypted messaging app Signal. The White House yesterday did confirm it with the Daily Caller that a Signal group chat with cabinet heavyweights, including J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, accidentally included Jeffrey Goldberg, the magazine's editor-in-chief, on this Signal app. And this is not fake news, this is real, and it's kind of a problem. But let's cut through this liberal spin and get down to the facts of it. But before we do, drop down below, hit that subscribe button, make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future. Now, the chat that we're talking about here was named Houthi PC Small Group and had people like Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Mike Waltz, Stephen Miller, Susie Wiles, Tulsi Gabbard, and VP Vance. Now, Hegseth had dropped a text in there saying that team update with strike plans on Yemen, targets weapons time and first bombs at 1:45 p.m. Eastern time. Now, let's see if we don't have all the text messages, but we do have our hands on some of this here now, and we're still trying to get our hands on more and more of these text messages. But from what we can see right now, there was potentially a time that was included in here that described what time this attack would take place at. Now, apparently, Goldberg just kind of sat back, lurked in the distance, and watched. And sure enough, when explosions hit, he kind of initially said he thought it was just kind of a joke. And then when explosions hit, right on schedule, he could not believe it's real. And Goldberg went on to write a piece that very, very critical of the administration, calling them reckless, and that this is recklessness here at play, and says that it could have harmed our troops if an enemy saw it. And here's the thing. This is a scandal, no doubt. Now, is this criminal? No, absolutely not. I do not believe so. Listen to Tulsi Gabbard. She talks about it. There was zero classified information that was shared on this Signal chat.
Contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff?
There was no classified material that was shared in that
So then
Signal
if there was no
chat.
classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the contact the defense.
It's like, the reality is that it's still under investigation. They're not going to talk about it. This is no surprise. It's under investigation still. But we know there was no classified information that was inside of that Signal chat. The reality is it is reckless what happened. But the reality is that the strike succeeded, no harm was done. Doesn't mean that this should not be addressed by any means. We're just going to recognize the fact of the situation. Nobody was harmed in this. But to act like this is like the next Watergate, it's not. It's a stupid mistake. It's not treason. And a White House spokesperson, Brian Hughes, admitted that it is authentic and that they're investigating how Goldberg got in. From what it seems like right now, Mike Waltz appears to be the one who added Goldberg to the group message. Now, the spokesperson kind of doubled down on this and said that it's shown that there is deep and thoughtful policy coordination inside the Trump administration with regards to the Houthi operation, and that there was no national security crisis that came about this. Now, you can say in here that there were some things that we saw, which I'm actually kind of happy, VP Vance bashing on Europe, which I nothing against that. And Vance raised the concerns that Timon and oil prices, but eventually said he would back the team on whatever happened. Now, it kind of shows how a team works. What does it look like that a team executed? But ultimately, it was still a blunder. And they had asked Trump about this. We can pull up the the video, Trump really didn't know anything about what was going on, went on to rip on the Atlantic. Take a listen.
Atlantic that said that some of your top cabinet officials and aides had been discussing very sensitive material through Signal and included an Atlantic reporter for that. What is your response to that?
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of the Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
With the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Right.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time. Anybody else?
Your reaction to the story of the Atlantic.
Obviously, Trump didn't know at that point what was going on. In the left, they're going to spin this. It's gonna be very divisive. At the end of the day, this is what it looks like behind the scenes to see the Trump team advising, then aligning with the policy decisions that need to be made with inside the administration. That's the reality. This is a screw up. Do not get me wrong. Let's not overstate. Let's not try and understate this. This is a screw up. This was a screw up. Waltz most likely is the one who seemed to add this, this writer into this group message chain. But I don't believe this shows that this is somehow some reckless clown show. You know, ultimately it was a win at the end of the day. It was a sloppy leak. It was a stupid mistake, but there was no classified information that was shared with inside of this. Ultimately, I still believe that these people are very competent to get the job done. My confidence in them has not deteriorated even the slightest. The competence is still there in its optics. Yes, there was a stupid mistake that was made. This looks bad. Private text going public looks bad for anybody. It's embarrassing. And conservatives don't get a pass on dumb mistakes. Like they should be held accountable for this. Do I think that means they should all be fired? No. Do I think they should be held accountable? Do I think there should be some training that needs to happen? Do I think there needs to be something on the back end that happens? Absolutely. The administration needs to tighten up. Signal is encrypted, but it's not secure. And it's not even encrypted if some knucklehead adds the wrong number. Like, it's bad. Like, obviously, there was no classified information. Should maybe some of this gone through the more official channels? But they're talking in here. And I wish we had the text messages here. They even said, let's make sure our text messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risks to honey facilities, we should do it. They definitely understand. They understand that there was another form of communication that was occurring on more official government servers that was encrypted and secure. But because they acknowledged that in these text messages that they were communicating through some other application. But we have to look at the reality. No lives were lost. No plans were compromised. The Houthis got hit, not us. The team is still in sync. Trump and Vance are aligned. The cabinet is executing on what they need to be doing. And this is a hiccup, not a fracture. Do not look at this as this is some sort of existential crisis that they now have. This is some huge, the worst national security breach in 100 years. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's just a lie. And the right needs to really go on the offensive here. Do not let the left control the narrative. This was a sloppy mistake, not a failure. This is a hiccup, not a fracture. That's the reality of this situation. Focus on the win. Houthis were attacked. America is stronger because of it. The world is stronger because of that. And that's what matters. Not some journalist who's now got a gotcha moment. We, as conservatives, we must demand better and that things don't happen like this again. No more errors that are so simple like this to not happen. But also, we shouldn't be there should be an apology for this. Make sure it's not going to happen again, and we need to move forward from it. But ultimately, I'm not going to take advice from people who were willing to let Hillary Clinton's email scandal, no big deal, when that was criminal. This is not criminal. When what Clinton did was criminal and they were okay with it, they do not have a right to even say a damn thing about this because ultimately this was not criminal. This is a hiccup. Not taking advice from someone who, when it was 10 times worse than this, they were still willing to be okay with the candidate. Let's let's look at the reality of the situation. So that's going to wrap things up for today, folks. Drop a subscribe down below. Hit that like button. We'll catch you next time.